D2 Word Life here with the number one fan of the One Warrior Nation Riptides.
There was nothing wrong with the One Warrior Nation.
Yeah, and you were also Disco Inferno's only fan, so.
Yeah, no, thank you. I don't like Disco Douchebag. You do.
Nah.
You were so sad that he could not win a title.
Nah.
You were so sad.
Yeah, and after watching this event, I don't know if freaking the word so sad would be the freaking great way to describe it, but brain dead would probably be more, would probably be best to describe my feelings on this event.
Uh-huh.
And today we are reviewing WCW Halloween Havoc 1998. Which I know was tagline as WCW NWO event, but it was still just, WCW event. So yeah.
Don't get him wrong. Don't let him fool you guys. It was his favorite event.
It was your favorite event with your favorite match on there.
I know it was yours.
No, it was yours. Anyway, this event took place on October 25th, 1998. So not too far off from today's date or time of upload or time of recording. Here in the modern day, it took place at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. With an attendance of 10,663 fans. And I know I usually don't talk about the buy rate, but I kind of have to for this one. The buy rate for this event was 310,000, and I'm betting half of them couldn't even watch the main event.
Most likely.
And I'll explain that when I get to the main event. The commentators were Bobby Heenan, Mike Tenay, and Tony Schiavone, and the ring announcers were David Pinzer and Michael Barber for the main event. And we have this card was stacked, I believe, with 12 matches, so we got to try to talk about these as briefly as we possibly can here. Otherwise, this video would be freaking 3 hours long, and no one wants that. Do they?
Uh-huh. Yeah, they don't want that. Yes, they do.
Yeah, whatever.
They want to hear you monologue on, yes, this happened there, this happened here, oh, this was a great spot.
Oh, this wrestler A performed this move on wrestler B. Oh, there was a chin lock here. A clothesline there. Riptidz is really annoying here.
There was no chin lock.
Yeah, I know. That was the most disappointing part. That's why he gets a low grade.
We all know that you were missing the chin locks. There was no chin locks.
Anyway, the show started with a video package hyping up, with an instrumental video package, I say, hyping up the freaking Hogan and freaking Warrior match. And then it briefly showed, the hype back, a little bit of hype between Goldberg and DDP for the main event, and of course the Sting and Bret Hart match. So 3 big matches that were advertised and hyped up a lot for this show.
And Steiner brother versus Steiner brother.
Yeah, but we'll get to that when we get there.
That's what hyped it up too.
Yep. So yeah, after the opening sequence, here we get welcomed by the commentators, putting over how big the Goldberg versus DDP match will be, and then later on pretty much putting over the biggest freaking rematch in pro wrestling history, which turned out to be the biggest disaster in pro wrestling history. More on that later. Right?
You could say it was the biggest flop.
Yeah, then we freaking go down, and then we go down to the ringside area where we see the Nitro Girls performing their dance routine in the ring. keep that in mind. There was like more than one of these, and that's why freaking they kind of fucked up their timing. More on that later. That and, well, interviews. Just like the one. We didn't even get to the first match right away. Instead, we go to Mean Gene Okerlund at the entrance stage who freaking introduced Rick Steiner.
Yes.
And pretty much, Rick Steiner pretty much said, make this interview brief at the start. Rick Steiner pretty much pointed out the time it's not brother versus brother. He's just looking at Scott Steiner as another wrestler to take out. But then here comes Buff Bagwell. And you knew something was up right when you seen him, because Buff Bagwell at this point was associated with the NWO, but he stated he briefly left the NWO, but no one was really buying that shit. You know what I'm saying?
You can also smell the rat a mile away.
I mean, I don't even have to watch the Nitro episodes of Nitro before this event to know. Yeah, you can smell a rat with this.
Well, also they were saying, Buff Bagwell's mother, Judy Bagwell, was the voice of reason for him turning to the good side. Bullshit.
Oh, speaking of Judy Bagwell.
Yeah, that'll be coming up sooner or later.
Yeah, we still got to review that too, by the way. But that'll be for another day. All right. But Bagwell said recently.
This week. It may be next week. It may be a week from now.
I know it's not a week from now. I already fucking know what you're already planning. Hell, it may be next month. It may be the month after. Hell, it may be the first review of 2026. We don't know yet. Am I right?
Yes.
But anyway, Buff Bagwell came out.
I know. You know.
Anyway, Buff Bagwell stated that he recently left the NWO and he's a free agent. Then he mentioned to Rick, the NWO doesn't work one-on-one. There's going to be interference because somebody's going to be out there. And Buff was like, I'll be out there. It's like, please, let me be out there in your corner so I can watch your back during your match with Scott. Which Rick reluctantly agrees, and they shook on him.
No, he knew. He fucking knew.
He fucking knew, even though he reluctantly agreed to do it. Shook freaking Bagwell's hand, and that's pretty much how this pay-per-view started off. It pretty much just felt like an opening promo to a freaking Nitro or something. That's what that felt like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hell, this whole freaking show felt like an extended version of a episode of Nitro over a pay-per-view. With some of the shit they were doing out there, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then we go on to the first matchup of this evening, the first of many matches. It was television champion Chris Jericho defending against Raven. And of course, Raven came out. The flock was disbanded. He was on a losing streak at this point. Pretty much being the opposite of Goldberg.
Yeah.
And then Raven freaking got on the mic after his entrance, sitting in the corner like he used to do back at this time period. He said this match was put on him last minute, that he's not going to freaking wrestle Jericho. And then Jericho made his way to the ring. Or actually, no, he said that after Jericho made his way to the ring. And Raven just started to leave. And then Jericho pretty much said, well, he ain't thrilled. He don't care about Raven leaving. And that he really didn't want to wrestle either. He'd take an easy night, whatever. But Jericho goaded Raven in by saying he was looking forward to facing a legend like Raven. Saying that he was the intelligent leader of the flock, which we all know didn't exist at this point anymore. And pretty much Jericho ended that little rant saying, he goes, yeah, but even if you did face me, I could probably beat you in 2 minutes, loser. Right?
Yeah.
And that's when the fight was on after Raven stormed back in the ring. right?
Yeah.
So yeah, with Raven being called a loser, that's something you and Raven have in common.
I know you and Raven have it in common, buddy.
No, that's you.
Nope.
Of course, after a scuffle in the ring, those two eventually make it to the outside. And I remember Raven freaking performing a front suplex on the Jericho onto the steel steps on the outside. That looked brutal. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then later on in the match, freaking Jericho freaking nailed Raven with a kick and goes for the Hurricane Rana, but freaking Raven reversed it into a power bomb. That looked impressive. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, Raven removed the turnbuckle before that, so he dropped Jericho onto the exposed turnbuckle and nailed a clothesline for a 2 count. Raven trying to freaking take the quick way out, the cheater's way out, but it didn't work. Right?
Yeah.
But despite that, freaking Jericho freaking came back, locked the Lion Tamer in on freaking Raven. Of course, the Lion Tamer these days better known as the Walls of Jericho. But either way, Raven got to the ropes, forcing the Jericho to break the hold. Which even the commentators at this point were astonished they did that, because I guess Raven had a reputation of tapping out within 5 seconds of a submission hold being applied to him at this point.
2 seconds.
Or 2 seconds. Yeah, but then after another little back and forth, Raven was able to hit the even flow DDT as finishing maneuver, went for the cover, but Jericho kicked out at 2.99. Right? And then Jericho ended up being a dick to freaking Raven's flock when he nailed freaking Raven with a low blow when the referee was distracted. And he followed it up with a bridging German suplex to get a 2 count. And then Canyon freaking got up on the ring apron. Who better than Canyon? Everyone.
Everyone's better than Canyon.
And then Jericho knocked Canyon off the ring apron before locking the Lion Tamer again on Raven, who immediately taps out. It wasn't even 5 seconds in the hold. Wasn't even 3 seconds. And Jericho retains the television championship here. Obviously, there's way more to the spots in this match than what I mentioned, but your thoughts on it?
It was good.
I thought it was a nice little decent opener to start the show. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm just and savor this moment all you want, because it's just downhill from here.
Yep.
Ugh. Oh, and what do we know? Now it's time to freaking talk about the next match on the card. Wait, what do you mean we're not getting to the next match right now? Oh, great. Wait, do we have to sit through a freaking Hulk Hogan promo again?
Yes.
Ugh. Yeah, the NWO music started playing. Freaking Hogan and Eric Bischoff came out. Apparently, Bischoff freaking had a fresh haircut. And he had that. And this was back when Eric Bischoff had that short hair and that goatee going at that time. Looking way different than what he would usually look like, right?
Yeah.
And then Bischoff then freaking told the people to shut up and look at Hogan, or Hollywood Hogan. And pretty much it was the same song and dance what he'd been saying on freaking Nitro at this point. And he said,
Championites.
Yep. And Hogan said he says his emphasis on the family values. He brutally beat down Horace Hogan on the Nitro before this to prove a point. Right?
Yeah, that was crap.
And then they showed freaking, and then obviously what I'm talking about, it's like Hollywood freaking kicked his nephew Horace out of the NWO with that beatdown and claiming that and he also claimed that the Warrior didn't stand a chance and that he'll know what Hogan's all about. He says that when Warrior stepped into this world, he was going to be beat up for life. Like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay. So yeah, that's what all Wood from the Hood said, brother. Right.
Uh-huh.
And now we get to our next match, which, if I'm being honest, I really wasn't that big of a fan of, but we'll talk about some spots. It was freaking Raph taking on Ming. Ming, better known as Haku.
Dan
Ming,
Rathby and Brian Adams,
yeah.
formerly known as Crush.
Yep. And at this point, WCW Creative didn't know what to do with Raph. He just got off of his previous Blood Runs Cold storyline with a certain person around this time, and they were just pretty much using him to freaking win matches at this point that had no story
A
behind it.
certain person, do you mean Glacier?
Yeah, who is this? It's like, who is this Glacier guy? He's being awfully slow. I mean, he's already late, but yeah, whatever, right? And you know, Ming has been destroying everyone in WCW at this point too, so that's why they put these two
This
together.
is Ming. This is Ming after he got released from the Dungeon of Terror Dungeon, whatever the fuck they were.
This was like, yeah, Ming wasn't part of that Dungeon of Doom. The Dungeon of Doom wasn't even a thing in '98 anymore. And this was after his Faces of Fear tag team. I know that.
Yeah, that.
Yep.
I couldn't remember what they were going by so many fucking names at that point. I'm like, Dungeon of Terror.
Dungeon
Whatever the
of
fuck they were.
Dungeon of Terror.
It was the Dungeon of Crap, is what it was.
Ah, shit. Anyway, this match started off freaking aggressively here. Wrath grabbed freaking Ming by the feet, drug him on the outside, and hit him with some chops to the chest to start this out.
It was a chop fest. It was chop, 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 chop,
It
chop,
was
chop,
basically,
chop.
for the most part, a chop fest. At least it wasn't a headbutting contest, because you know Ming would win that battle.
Well, you don't headbutt a Samoan.
Exactly. And,
Well, you also don't chop a Samoan either.
nah. Anyway, they get back in the ring, exchange lefts and rights to the head, and then Wrath tried a clothesline, but Ming didn't budge. He no-sold it like you in 2K. Right?
Yes.
And of course, Wrath was able to get Ming down with a flying clothesline, and he got a 2 count out of it. Near the end of the match, freaking Ming hits an elbow to the head and starts to slam Wrath's head into the corner, staying in control. Ming actually bit freaking Wrath in the ear. And knowing Haku, that's not too far fetched for what he would actually do in real life when ticked off. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you heard the stories like I have. Right?
Well, he was also imitating what a famous boxer did.
Oh, you mean what Tyson did to freaking Holyfield?
Yes.
Exactly. And then Ming tried to hit a clothesline in the corner, or Ming actually hit a clothesline in the corner and dropped freaking Wrath with an atomic bomb. Wrath Joe got backed up to his feet and nailed a big slam on the freaking Ming for a 2 count. Then after a freaking little bit of struggling getting Ming up, freaking Wrath was able to hit the meltdown to pick up the win. In this
Well, he went
match.
for the Tongan grip. Is what the Tongan bomb or whatever the fuck it was called.
I mean, this match was relatively short, but you know, it didn't overstay its welcome. Your thoughts on this one? I've seen better matches from Haku and freaking Brian Clark himself.
Especially when he became Chronic.
That was like the highlight of Brian Clark's freaking dang WCW run, other than his Glacier feud. Right?
Yeah.
if we're talking WCW, you are exactly correct. If you're talking about the invasion angle, they sucked. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it wasn't the best match on here.
There wasn't really a best match at all on this show.
No, not even close. But backstage, we see Juventud with the internet freaking people, the WCW.com guys, talking about his upcoming cruiserweight title defense later on the show against the winner of this next match, which you said yourself that this was your match of the night, and I'm talking about Juventud versus Disco Inferno.
First of all, you said Juventud was back there. That wasn't correct.
I said Billy Kidman was
I'm
back
gonna
there.
correct you. No, you said Juventud.
Well, whatever. I don't care anymore. This freaking show's got me got my mind twisted.
So let's get this straight. It was Billy Kidman
In the back.
that was in the back talking with the WCW internet guys, and then it was Juventud Hoovy versus Disco Douchebag.
We all know Disco Inferno was your favorite WCW wrestler back then.
Fuck you. I know he was yours.
I mean, we all know how obsessed you are with 70s disco music.
I know you are. Don't get me wrong. Some of the 70s disco was good, but when you see a disco douchebag like him fucking trying to do the disco, it sucked.
Well, yeah, and the winner of this match would go on to face Billy Kidman for the Cruiserweight Championship later on in the show. So there is a chance that we get to see your favorite Disco Inferno twice in one show.
It was your favorite douchebag?
Nope.
Yes. You even told me when earlier that was your favorite match of the night.
It's like, no. Disco Inferno was not my favorite WCW star.
Yes, it was.
It was more like Glacier. Just kidding.
Uh-huh.
But speaking of which, Glacier will be coming to the freaking reviews. We just don't know when. He hasn't arrived yet. So give or take, maybe he'll show up in another 3 years. So yeah, both men freaking went at each other as soon as the bell rang. Obviously, Disco freaking was in control at first, and he worked Hoovy into the corner, and he brought him out with a side slam for a 2 count early in the match. You knew that wasn't going to end it, right?
No.
Later on, Guerrero ducked a clothesline and hit a series of chops to the chest, which all looked devastating there. I mean, how would you like to take a chop to the chest? That shit would hurt, you know.
Yeah.
And Guerrero and then Hoovy freaking took Disco down with some head scissors and nailed a face buster on Inferno, I think, right?
Yeah.
Either way, they make it out to the outside. And then freaking Guerrero freaking jumped on Disco on the outside with a splash. Later on, freaking Guerrero went up to the ring apron, tried to use a springboard off the ropes, but Disco slides out of the ring to avoid it. Smarty goes, I'm not going to be hit with that. And at this point, you were like, come on, start dancing.
I know you were.
Yeah, and then at one point, Guerrero motioned for the Hoovy driver after freaking nailing a Hurricane Rana, but Disco reversed it and dropped him onto the ropes. You know what I'm saying? Then he hit a swinging neck breaker, and both men were down and out. And at this point, if this match ended in a double count out, would you be tripping? Not really. Right?
No.
But Disco got up, picked freaking Hoovy up by the hair, and gave him some shots to the head. But then Guerrero rolled him up after some showboating. Disco was wasting time here, but Disco recovered and put Guerrero into a bat swing. Or put Hoovy into a bat swing. Whatever. Referee went to check on freaking Hoovy afterwards, but Disco falls on his crotch on the way down off the rope. Right?
Yeah.
So I guess you could say the referee was inadvertently a dick to Disco's Infernos.
Yes.
But near the end of the match, freaking Guerrero then near the end of the match, Hoovy hit a bulldog for another 2 count. Then Disco came back with a kick to the gut and nailed a pile driver to win the match. Right.
Yes.
I didn't go through all the spots. I only went to the spots that I thought were important here. Your thoughts on this one, because we all know you loved seeing your boy compete now twice.
I know you did.
Yeah, so the Cruiserweight title match is going to be Disco Inferno versus Billy Kidman here.
And Disco Inferno was not a fucking cruiserweight.
And neither was Matt Hardy, and they still gave him the Cruiserweight title in 03.
Well, Matt Hardy actually lost the weight to go down to cruiserweight.
Yes, and I could see freaking the inspiration for that storyline, because Disco was trying to do the same thing here. Except he was unsuccessful. More on that later. Right?
Yep.
So yeah, my thoughts on this match, I've seen better. That's all I gotta say.
Uh-huh.
And then we see another Nitro Girls segment where they were dancing in the ring just like at the start of the show. Yeah, this is why their pay-per-view timing went off.
No, it really was just their time management.
Yeah. Oh, and instead of going to the next match, just like how in the opening segment, instead of going to the next match on the card, we go and get another microphone. What the fuck am I talking about? We get another freaking interview again.
With Scott Steiner.
With the Giant. Or the Big Show or Paul White or whatever you want to call him. Right? So Steiner came out, microphone in hand, says he's standing in Las Vegas in the town that never sleeps, and that he's been going for three days and 30 nights. What? Steiner math
30
right there.
days and 30 nights.
Well, whatever. Yeah, he says he's in town and he's ready to pound. Oh, Jesus. Right. And of course, long story short with this whole interview, Scott Steiner freaking proposed that he and the Giant will defend the tag team championships against Rick Steiner and Buff Bagwell later on in the show. Which J.J. Dillon came out and said that, well, I'll make that official, but if freaking Scott and Giant lose, then Rick Steiner would have to face Scott Steiner.
Well, Scott Steiner actually said that, oh, you're going to team up with a guy that I've beaten up all my life, and then Big Show or the Giant comes out after and said, yeah, we're going to beat up Mama's Boy, Coward. Then Scott's like, oh, I'll even put up the WCW tag team titles on the line in the match. And then J.J. Dillon, like you said, comes out and says, let me get this straight. I want to make sure I heard this. So you're going to put up the tag team titles against Rick and
Buff
Bagwell.
Yep.
And if Rick wins, we'll finally get the one-on-one match that everyone's wanted.
Yeah, I guess shit. They've been trying to do a Scott versus Rick match for a long time. Up in this point, and each time freaking Scott would fake an injury, be like, I can't do it. I can't wrestle. I can't wrestle.
Or Rick
chicken
jumped.
Or something, right?
Yes.
But, after all that, we got a tag team title match freaking set for later in the show, but yeah, nothing gonna be controversy there. But then we get to our next match, which was Fit Finlay versus Alex Wright.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, and did you know originally this was supposed to be a triple threat match, also involving the British Bulldog, but the British Bulldog freaking left to go have back surgery. And while in the process of healing, his WCW contract ran out and he resigned with WWE or WWF the next year.
Yeah. Well, because they wanted to pay him a lot less than what he was actually worth.
Yeah, and the back injury that Bulldog sustained here was from the Fall Brawl show the month prior when he took a backdrop onto in the ring, but the part of the ring had a freaking trap door for Warrior's entrance. And that's where Bulldog's freaking painkiller addiction started. And yeah, and we all know how that tragically ended. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I know about that situation. Right? So yeah, both make their entrances. Alex Wright dancing like a fool with the freaking German bratwurst. You know you liked Alex Wright too.
No, I did not.
Hell, your favorite.
Especially when they got close up on his dick.
Why you're jealous of
Oh
the
my
German sausage?
God.
Why you're jealous of the German bratwurst?
I know you were. With your 2 centimeter ass.
No. Hell,
Yes.
hell, you even said your favorite tag team was freaking Disco Inferno and Alex Wright.
The Disco Knights? No. No.
Anyway, the start of the match, those two lock up. Finley got the early advantage with some power moves and working right.
This was also a revenge match for Alex Wright for what Finley did to his father.
Yeah.
He broke his freaking leg.
At one point, Finley freaking drove an elbow into the face of Wright and snapped him over the freaking and snapped Wright's back over his knees after freaking slinging him into the ropes. Which that move would be, the slingshot into the ropes and the wrestler being freaking forced back into the opponent's knees there because the wrestler or person didn't let go of the paddle. Well, that'd be a freaking signature move of Finley's, but apparently this was the first time Finley done that maneuver. Right?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, there's a little piece of FYI for you.
Well, a lot of Finley's moves that he was using were first-time moves that he hadn't used since he was wrestling on the indie scene.
Yeah, which would later become his stable signatures in his main roster career.
Yes.
And of course, then Finley nailed freaking Wright with some chops to the chest. But then freaking Alex Wright fought back and took Finley down to the mat, trying to freaking maintain control. At one point, he catapulted Finley into the bottom rope throat first. I'm like, wow, that looked like it would suck, right?
The slingshot?
Yeah, a slingshot into the bottom rope. That looks like it would suck. Right?
Yeah, because it's just very thin cloth that's over wire.
Yep. And of course, later on near the end of the match, Wright freaking pulled him down off the apron with a scoop Alabama or the scoop slam, followed by an elbow on the outside. Right? These two were actually taking to fight each other very hard outside on the ringside area. Which ended when freaking Wright got slammed down into the freaking guardrail at ringside. Near the end of the match, freaking they got back in. Freaking Wright came off the top with a missile drop kick, or tried to come off the top with a missile drop kick, but freaking missed his target. Finley went for his running shoulder in the corner, but ended up eating freaking goddamn ring post. And Wright hit a neck breaker, and that was the end of the match. He pinned Finley for the 3 count after that.
Yeah, and then he danced away.
So yeah, that's one victory for the German sausage. Your thoughts on this one?
It was alright, I guess.
To me, it's like it could have just used a little bit more time. I was so expecting Finley to kick out, but when the 3 count came down, I'm like, that's it. All right, then. I've seen better matches from both.
Well, also, Finley got concussed because of the neck breaker.
Yeah, I've seen better matches from both competitors. So yeah, to me that felt kind of maybe below average. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we see a freaking backstage interview with Ernest the Cat and Miller. And they argue about Miller being the greatest in the WCW locker room with his kickboxing skills. I'm like, why are we even talking about Ernest the Cat Miller? He doesn't even have a match on this show. Right?
Yeah, he's 6-5-0, so he's 6 against all the freaking people, all the supposed tough guys in the back. He's 5 against the fans.
And it's like, wow. And I'm just like, okay, can we just go to our next match? And our next match is, oh, God. Your boy Lodi taking on Saturn.
No, it's your boy Lodi. And this was a revenge match from when Saturn was Lodi's slave in the flock.
Yeah, both of them were former Flog members here. Do we really gotta talk about? Do we really gotta talk about this match? Because it really wasn't that much of a match.
Yes, we have to fucking do the match.
Okay, freaking bell sounded. Freaking Saturn Saturn was in control at first, freaking working on the arm of Lodi, but Lodi ended up getting out after he noticed freaking one of the ring crew members taking his signs away. So he freaking ran after the guy and said, "No, these signs need to stay here at ringside. These are my signs." Kind of like Al Snow in his head, but worse. Right?
Yes.
Then Lodi slowly got back in the ring and gets a headlock on Saturn, but he is quickly freaking disposed of by Saturn as Saturn got in control. Saturn got a freaking leg sweep and then sends Lodi onto the outside. Why was Lodi on the outside here? And then Saturn took control in the corner, took control.
Because they're taking his signs yet again.
Yeah. Yeah, and then at one point, freaking Saturn sent Lodi into the corner, but Lodi got out and grabbed the signs again. More stalling, that's what this short match needs. Am I right? And while freaking Lodi was posing with signs, trying to get away, freaking Saturn just freaking came after him. Freaking nailed him in the chest. Nailed him in the chest before sending him back into the ring for a belly-belly suplex. And at the end of the matchup here, freaking Saturn nailed a freaking Falcon Arrow before nailing the Death Valley Driver for the pinfall win.
Yes.
What a waste of a match. Your thoughts on this one?
Saturn made Lodi his bitch.
I know Saturn's WCW run is often compared to his WWE or WWF run that he would have a couple years later. And a lot of people say that Saturn's best days were in WCW. This is not a good example of that.
No, his best days is his early work in WWF. And then he kind of got screwed after he accidentally injured another wrestler.
I mean, when it comes to Saturn, yeah, he could hold his own in the ring. He could have some great matches, but despite all that, is it bad that in modern day people only remember Saturn's wrestling career for Moppy? Yeah. So
where's Moppy?
So yeah,
Well, you could also say that he had a beret because he was wearing a beret.
So yeah, the match itself I really wasn't into. Really, I'm just like, this is nothing more than a glorified squash with some stalling. That's what this was between Lodi and Saturn here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. Yeah, I gave it a little bit of points for the offense that Saturn gave, but other than that, I really wasn't into it. The only saving grace that this was short. It wasn't like no long, drawn out 10-minute fucking stalling affair. Otherwise, I'd just be bored with it and just gave it 0. So yeah, there's that, I guess. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we see footage of freaking Bagwell trying to take Scott out with a steel chair, but Scott got out of the ring, and this was on the Nitro prior to this event, and that's why they're like, okay, this is gonna be causing a rift between Rick Steiner and Buff Bagwell. I'm like, there's already freaking distrust, and for obvious reasons. And then we get another Nitro's Girl dance segment. At this point, I'm just like tapping out. I'm like, can we please stop doing this?
No.
This is why freaking WCW Halloween Havoc had freaking poor time management because of bullshit like that. And then next off, we have the Cruiserweight Championship match. It was Cruiserweight Champion Billy Kidman defending against your boy Disco Inferno.
It's your boy Disco Inferno, dickhead.
No, it's your boy, not my boy.
No, you were an Inferno head.
No, that was you.
Nope, that was you, sir.
Of course, Kidman started off after the introductions. Kidman freaking started off quickly with a headlock that's the closest to a chinlock we got all show. That's sad, right?
Yes.
But Disco,
For you.
Yeah, but Disco fought out of it with an arm drag. It's like Disco got out of it with an arm drag. There was some more back and forth between these two. And eventually they made their ways to the outside after Kidman freaking sent Disco to the outside. To the ring. Back in the ring, freaking Kidman freaking had Disco locked up again, but Disco then sent Kidman into the ropes and knocked him down with a drop toe hold. Yeah, and at one point Disco nailed a neck breaker on Kidman for a 2 count. You know Kidman wasn't going to go down on that, and this was like in the middle of the match. Yeah, but then at one point Kidman charges in, and then Disco pulls down the rope, but Kidman flies to the outside anyway. Or goes on the outside anyway at this point.
Yep.
Near the end, it's like at one point near the end of the match up here, freaking Disco climbed up to the second rope, came off with an elbow, but went for the elbow drop, but freaking Kidman moved out of the way. So there was no one there. He crashed and burned and ate shit. I bet that made you laugh.
Yes.
Yeah, then Kidman nailed a power bomb for a 2 count. And Kidman then hit a power slam and got another 2 count. Disco was actually... It's like Disco here was actually persistent, being like, I want to freaking beat Kidman. I'm going to kick out of his offense. No matter what. Yeah, and then at one point Kidman went for a drop kick, and then freaking Disco moved out of the way, causing Kidman to crash and burn, and then Disco took advantage and nailed a pile driver on the freaking Kidman. Both were down at this point. And I bet at this point you were like, can this match just please end? I don't want to see Disco anymore.
Yes.
Even though he's your favorite, and you know it.
He's your favorite.
And of course, good amount of time passed. Disco went for the cover, and Kidman freaking got his shoulder up. Alright, for a 2 count.
Yes.
Kidman came back, nailed a bulldog on the freaking Disco, and the end came when Kidman fought back against Disco after reversing another move that Disco had in mind. Took Disco down with a face buster, and then went to the top rope to nail the shooting star press to win the match and retain the championship. Your thoughts on this one?
It was a good match. Was it Billy Kidman's best match? No.
Was it Disco Inferno's best match on this show, considering he wrestled Hoovy earlier in the show?
No.
Oh, so you prefer his first match over this one?
I prefer no match with Disco Inferno.
Well, we know he was
Except
your
when he
favorite.
got his ass beat by Jacqueline.
Yeah. Either way, I thought this match was a little bit above average. I thought it was all right for what it was. The Cruiserweight title match between Guerrero and Mysterio the year prior at Halloween Havoc was better than this. By all means.
Yeah.
Just my opinion, right?
Well, he was actually looking forward to facing Juventud because Juventud actually gave him multiple opportunities at the Cruiserweight title when he didn't have to.
Yep. And then afterwards, we finally go from one match to the next. Oh my god, it's a miracle that happened on this pay-per-view show. Am I right? And this was for the WCW Tag Team Championships, as it was Scott Steiner and the Giant, the Tag Team Champions representing NWO Hollywood, defending against Rick Steiner and Buff Bagwell. They might as well just advertise this as a handicap match, because that's pretty much what this was.
It was a glorified handicap match.
And it's interesting that the Giant was defending the WCW Tag Team title, no, it was interesting that Scott Steiner was defending the WCW Tag Team titles because the Giant's original partner was Scott Hall here. But you know, they did the whole Freebird rule. Basically, is what happened, right?
Well, also, Scott Hall had a match later in the night.
Yep. And the stipulation for this match was, obviously, if the Giant and Scott would lost the match, then that would enable freaking Scott, or Rick and Scott Steiner, to face each other after the match in a singles match, which was the original match freaking advertised for this card anyway.
Yes.
So yeah, both teams make their entrances here. Freaking, obviously, the Giant and Rick Steiner were the first legal two men for their teams in this matchup because, well, obviously, you know, Scott Steiner ain't freaking starting off against Rick. Right?
Well, Steiner never started off a match when he was even with the Steiner brothers. It was always Rick Steiner that fucking started.
And of course, due to Giants or Big Show's freaking size, he freaking took control of Rick Steiner right away, knocking him down with big chops and an atomic drop. How would you like to take a big chop in the corner from the Big Show or Paul White? I know I wouldn't. Right?
Well, the freaking atomic drop did nothing to him because he fucking fought back.
And of course, at one point, Rick was all down and out. That's when Scott had the balls to tag in and started pounding on Rick right away before tagging right back out. As soon as Rick got up, right?
Yeah.
Got on the outside. And of course, Bagwell went in to confront freaking dang the Giant on the outside, but was quickly scared away. Little punk ass that he was. Am I right? During this time period. And of course, freaking back in the ring, Rick was just being dominated by both Scott Steiner and the Giant. And of course, eventually Rick Steiner freaking got control, knocking freaking Scott down with a clothesline coming back. Right?
Yep.
And freaking Rick was going for the pin, but Bagwell insisted that he gets tagged into the match. Because Bagwell was playing up that he wanted a piece of Scott Steiner. Because, yeah, everyone seemed to have an issue with Scott Steiner at this point. So, Rick freaking tagged in freaking Buff Bagwell. And right when freaking, right when Bagwell and Rick Steiner were about to double team freaking Scott, Bagwell freaking attacked Rick instead with a low blow.
Yep.
Who would have saw that coming? Absolutely everyone. And where does that sound familiar? I think we saw something happen in a similar match that we reviewed last week.
Yes. Ric Flair and Sting.
Yeah, so pretty much they just recycled the same shit over again. Right?
Yes.
From a tag match that happened 3 years prior to this event.
Yes.
So after that, Bagwell just runs out of the ring immediately and was like, nah, screw this. Rick, you're out there by yourself now. So this was basically now officially a handicap match.
Yes.
And just like kids at a candy store, freaking Scott and Big Show are all over freaking Rick, just taunting him, just beating him down, taunting Rick, knowing that they're going to be easily going to win. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, hell, the Giant was in control for most of it after the whole friggin' swerve that everyone saw coming.
For a little while.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, freaking Giant chopped freaking Rick down the mat, and Rick rolled out of the freaking ring. Scott came in, slammed him again, or came out, slammed him on the guardrail back first before rolling him back into the ring. Then Giant nailed a Russian leg sweep to cover Rick, but Big Show continuously kept pulling, or the Giant or Big Show kept continuously pulling Rick Steiner up. The whole friggin' cockiness is one of a villain's greatest weakness. Am I right?
Yes. And then he has the bright idea to tell Scott to come into the ring, hold up Steiner, and he's gonna go do a drop kick off the top rope.
Seeing Big Show even attempt any move off the top rope. Yes, I know he was younger back then. Yes, I know he was more athletic and agile for a big man back then, but it still feels weird and out of place to see. So yeah, the Giant or the Big Show, whatever you want to call him, freaking positioned himself onto the top ropes, was going to nail a missile drop kick on the freaking Rick, but Rick moved out of the way, and the Giant accidentally nailed freaking Scott Steiner instead, taking him out. Right?
Yes. And then Rick Steiner does a bulldog off the top rope.
Yeah, that enables freaking Rick to eventually nail, like you said, the Giant with a bulldog off the top rope, and he pinned the Giant to win the tag team titles by himself.
Yes.
So yeah, your thoughts on this one?
It was a good match, but now we go to the most anticipated match. Steiner v. Steiner.
So yeah, after the matchup, freaking Scott Steiner was forced to get back in the ring to face his brother Rick in a singles match at this time. After he was already exhausted, after absorbing a giant drop kick. Literally. Right?
Yes.
The mathematician didn't see that one coming, did he?
Nope.
And just to ensure that Scott didn't freaking get out of the ring, Rick sends Scott out to the aisle and then slams him against the guardrail. This was built as no DQ, by the way. Right.
No, the thing was that Scott Steiner was walking away, and the Giant or the Big Show was saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. I'm sorry," because he got the pinfall for losing the title. And then to stop Scott from running away, Rick gets out of the ring, slams him into the guardrail, beats the shit out of the fucking Giant as well, slams him into the other guardrail.
Yeah, and then he freaking hits freaking Scott in the head, which allows him to follow up with a clothesline back in the ring. Scott freaking reverses the whip into the corner, but freaking Rick gets up. Rick reverses it. Oh yeah, Rick reverses it, and at one point, freaking Rick drove Scott in the corner gut first, but then Scott came back with, yeah, I should have kept count of these freaking low blows, but the one he hit here on Rick Steiner was the fourth low blow he nailed to Rick in this match. So Scott Steiner, for a fourth time in this matchup overall, was a dick to Rick Steiner's. How the fuck is Braun Breaker even existing today after all this abuse to Rick in this match? That's what I want to know. Right?
I don't know.
That's fucking hilarious. Right?
It's a mystery.
Yes. Yeah, and then Scott took him down with a clothesline and continued to pound away on freaking Rick's head. Back and forth, right?
Yep.
Then he sends Rick into the ropes and tries a leapfrog on Rick, but freaking Rick caught him and nailed a power slam onto Scott. And that's when we see someone freaking jump the guardrail wearing a Bill Clinton outfit.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Mask included. And the fact is, the security guards got taken out, and I'm like, damn, if that's that easy to take the guards out of a WCW show, anyone can interfere. Oh, wait. We pretty much seen that always. And the guy,
Yes.
yeah, and the guy wearing the Bill Clinton mask got freaking handed a slapjack from freaking Stevie Ray on the outside. And after freaking, and then the person dressed up took off the freaking mask reveal. It's Buff Bagwell again. Right?
Yes.
No, instead of the slapjack, it'd be funny if Buff Bagwell, still with the mask on, was given a microphone and he said the magical words before revealing himself.
He did have a mic.
Yep.
Because he went in, he got into the ring, he grabbed a mic, hit Rick in the head with it, then got the slapjack from
Stevie Ray.
Stevie Ray and hit Rick with it and hit the ref with it.
So the referee was down and out. Freaking Rick was down and out. He put freaking Scott on top of freaking Rick and used the referee's arm to count 1, 2, but Rick kicked out. Scott then nailed a Frankenstein off the top rope. But once again, freaking Rick kicks out of the freaking tainted cover. Right? And then Rick then nailed some clotheslines on Scott before tossing Bagwell onto the outside of the ring. And then near the end of this one, freaking Rick picked.
Oh, he didn't toss him out. He freaking hit him on top of the ropes.
Yeah. But in the end, freaking Rick got onto the top, nailed Scott with a bulldog from the top rope, and I think it was Nick Patrick came in the ring and counted the pinfall win for Rick Steiner.
Yes, all Buff Bagwell could say is, "Where's my money? My money!"
Yep. So Rick Steiner won this one as well. Your thoughts on this one?
Well, he had 2 matches back to back and beat both and won both of them by his goddamn self.
Oh yeah, and despite the winning the tag team titles earlier, like a match before, in the match prior to this one, I have to mention this: Buff Bagwell was not counted as a tag champion. So Rick Steiner had no partner, and then later on he would reveal his tag team championship partner in the weeks that followed this, and that ended up being Judy Bagwell. Like what kind of joke are we talking about here? Right?
Yes.
So yeah, my thoughts on this Rick and Scott Steiner match. It felt, it could have used some more time, or it could have just been a straight up one-on-one without the tag match. Probably would have been a longer match too at that point. But either way, it was what it was. You know what I'm saying? But Buff Bagwell coming out dressed as Bill Clinton, that was kind of comical. Right?
Yeah, right when he grabbed the mic, all I could imagine him saying literally was the fucking words that Bill Clinton said, "I did not have sexual relation with that woman."
And then we go on to the next match of the card, which was the Outsiders exploding as it was Scott Hall taking on Kevin Nash. Just for the record, I know what kind of story they were trying to tell. I guarantee, but I must say this: I hated this storyline.
Oh, the drunk storyline?
Yeah, the freaking drunk Scott Hall storyline that they did back then. I know we freaking goddamn say that WWE had a lot of shitty ass storylines, but in WCW this one was one of the worst. It didn't do any Scott Hall any favors, didn't do any Kevin Nash. The story didn't do Scott Hall favors, obviously it didn't do Kevin Nash any favors. It was just bad because they were pretty much poking fun at a real life situation that Scott Hall was dealing with backstage.
Well, it was also to explain the implosion of the Outsider and the implosion of the NWO at this point because it was ending.
Yeah, and Scott Hall was representing NWO Hollywood while friggin' Kevin Nash was representing the Wolfpack at this point.
Yes. I still like the Wolfpack theme song.
And you know, Scott Hall's got on record saying that, yeah, during this whole storyline, every time he'd come out there and stumble and drink, he wasn't drinking alcohol, it was just, you know, flavored stuff. Well, regular flavor stuff, but it still doesn't make it right. You know what I'm saying? Still doesn't make it a less of a shitty storyline knowing that information. Right?
Yeah.
So the match started after both men made their entrances. The match started with freaking Hall throwing his drink into Nash's eyes and then freaking taking advantage and pounding Nash throughout the whole early stages of this matchup. Yeah, and then Hall then grabbed a microphone while Nash was on the outside and pretty much says, "Hey, you." Actually, no, he smashed it into Nash's head, but then later on the outside, he got on the mic and pretty much did his whole "Hey, yo" speech. He goes, then he said to Nash, "How's it feel with that drink in your eyes? I bet it burns. Your vision's kind of blurry at this point," making fun of people's state of mind when they're messed up. All right? Right? And at this point, freaking, it was just straight up punches back and forth from freaking Hall. He pretty much was in control of Nash the entire, pretty much half of this match was Scott Hall freaking in control. Even nailed the fall away. Even nailed him with a scoop slam. Nash, and every time Nash shoved him away, freaking Hall just kept going at freaking Nash in the corner. And even Nash was like, "Come on, bring it," right?
Yeah.
But Nash eventually fought back and nailed a sidewalk slam on the friggin' dang Hall, so both men were down and out. But they got back up on their knees, exchanged freaking strikes back and forth. And at one point, freaking Nash went for the jackknife powerbomb, but freaking Hall got out of the ring rather quickly. Was like, "No, screw this," right?
Yeah.
But eventually, freaking Nash got in control, especially working Hall in the corner with strikes, and he did his whole freaking like shoulder strike into freaking dang Hall as well. And at this point, near the end of the match, it was just Nash pretty much in control at this point. Yeah, and then freaking at one point, freaking Nash even called Hall a piece of shit, and he starts freaking telling him to have another drink as he continues to keep pounding on him. At one point, he goes, "Oh, have a double," and he struck him twice, not once but twice, right?
Yeah.
And near the end of the match, Nash hit his signature big boot, followed by a jackknife power bomb. And then the fans were like, "Yeah, hit another one." And he goes, "You know what? Screw it. Here's a double for you, Hall." And he freaking nailed Hall with a freaking another jackknife power bomb. And then the referee was like telling him, "Okay, just pin him. And Nash was like, "No, screw that." And for some reason, Nash decided to get out of the ring and just leave, prompting the referee to count Nash out and have Hall win by count out.
Because Nash wanted to have a no-holds-barred match against Hall, which they would have later on.
But yeah,
to end their feud.
Yeah, but your thoughts on this one?
It was a good match.
I thought the ending was kind of confusing. I'm like, you had him beat right there. Why didn't you just take it?
Well, because like I said, they wanted to have a no-holds-barred match to do it, so they were continuing the rivalry.
Ugh. So yeah, I thought it was okay for what it was, but the ending just kind of soured me on it. So even though Scott Hall technically was a winner, you could tell he got his ass kicked.
Yes.
Oh, and what does this freaking show need right before the last 3 matches on this card? Another Nitro Girls dancing segment. Yay!
You know you enjoyed the show.
This is why this pay-per-view feed cut out, and we'll talk about that at the main event.
No, it wasn't.
It was part of their time mismanagement. They could have cut like most of that shit out.
No, that wasn't even part of their mismanagement. Their mismanagement was when right when the show was supposed to end, which they were told it was going to go on for a little bit longer because they were doing a bunch of different things because they had to have intermissions in between the matches.
Yep.
They even told the camera guys and the guys in the back of the truck that the show was supposed to go on for a little bit longer. Then they decided, and then they're like, "Oh no, we're just gonna do. Oh, we forgot."
Or no, from what I heard, but we'll talk about that when we get there in more detail. Ugh. Anyway, the next match was for the WCW United States Championship, and it was U.S. Champion Bret Hart defending against Fate. Sting. Shit. I can't talk for shit today.
Sting.
It was Tomato Face Sting or Wolfpack Sting. Where friggin' Sting was wearing all red and black, including his face paint. Right?
Yes, and he had a goatee that made him look even more sinister.
So yeah, both men made their entrances here. I do like the Wolfpack theme song, by the way, as you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll give you that one. That actually was a good theme song. So the match started. Sting chased Bret Hart around the ring as Hart refused to get in the ring at all. And this was a battle of the Sharpshooter versus the Scorpion Deathlock. Both similar moves anyway. Both similar moves, yeah. Yeah, and then Sting finally gets a hold of him and sends him flying into the ring. Then Sting was in control early on, and he worked hard in the corner with some punches to the head, and he followed that up with a clothesline and another punch to the head that sent Hart into the corner. And of course, Sting freaking taunted him while he was trying to get to his feet, and then Sting nailed an atomic drop and covered him for a 2 count. Right?
Yep.
And of course, later on in the match, when Bret was in control, he choked Sting. Yeah, he choked Sting against the ropes with his boots, right? Yeah, but then Sting rolled him up and grabbed him, but then Sting rolled him up for another quick 2 count with a surprise roll up. I'm surprised they didn't end the match right there, right?
Yeah.
And of course, friggin' Hart friggin' took Sting down with a friggin' Russian leg sweep. Then Hart went up to the second rope, tried to do his signature second rope dive onto Sting, but Sting catches him and puts him in the freaking Scorpion Deathlock. But Hart got to the ropes.
By the ropes.
Yeah, Hart got to the ropes, so the match continued. Right?
Even though Sting said that he wasn't going to release it even if the troops came out.
And at one time when Sting was in control, freaking Hart reached into his tights, pulled out what they called brass knuckles, but it really wasn't brass knuckles, but we'll call them brass knuckles anyway.
They were brass knuckles, but they had black coating on it.
And of course, Sting took Bret down with a clothesline, then Sting grabbed the foreign object, was going to nail freaking Bret Hart with it, but the referee stopped him. Which allowed Hart to be a freaking dick to Sting's crows, if you know what I mean. Rightly in front of the referee, but the referee was like, I ain't calling for a DQ. But if Sting were to use this object, I would have. Yeah, logic, am I right?
You could say he also got him in the Dr. Pecker.
Really? You just had to say that here? Oh, God. Anyway. And at one time, I think the referee got friggin' laid out at one point, too, in this matchup, near the end.
Well, that's because right after the referee was took away brass knucks or the knucks or whatever. He fucking hit the referee in the back of the head.
Yeah, I think the referee went to check
Knocked the
on
ref
Sting.
out.
I think the referee went to check on Sting. Sting nailed an elbow on the referee, thinking it was Brett, but then Brett dropped a leg on the referee to take him out for good. And of course, that referee freaking got a lot of abuse because shortly after that, freaking Sting was in control, superplexed Bret Hart off the freaking top rope, and Bret Hart landed right on top of the referee's legs. Right?
Yes.
I'm like, a lot of referee abuse here, right? Then Sting then nailed a stinger splash in the corner on Bret, but it seems like freaking Sting overshot his target and nailed his head on the freaking ring post, knocking him out on the freaking rope.
Well, he had too much momentum, so he slid over Bret Hart's back and clocked himself on the
Ring post.
ring post.
And while Sting was draped, knocked out, hanging on the freaking top rope, Bret Hart went to the outside, grabbed Sting's baseball bat, and nailed him in the back. And drove it in Sting's back like 3 times, and then once in the back of the head, and used that freaking same bat up against freaking the throat of Sting and pushed him back into the ring.
He hit him 4 times in the back of the head and then hit him in the throat.
So at this point, Sting was down and out in the middle of the ring. Bret Hart got back in, woke the referee up, who you know's legs got to be hurting.
Faking sympathy, by the way.
Yep. And then right when the referee was coming to, he locked Sting in the sharpshooter, which was really unnecessary at this point. And the referee checked Sting's arm 3 times, which after the 3rd drop declares Bret Hart the winner by TKO.
Yes.
So Bret Hart retains the U.S. Championship here. Your thoughts on this one?
It was a good match, even though he used cowardly tactics.
No, if these two fought in a great technical match with no cheating whatsoever, this match would have been better than it was, in my opinion.
Yes.
Because we know Sting is capable to have great matches, and so was Bret Hart, but freaking this was not it. Right? And of course, after the match, the paramedics came out and put freaking Sting in a neck brace and put him on a stretcher. As we see and what we saw is freaking Sting being taken to the ambulance and taken out of the arena.
Yep.
In all reality, this was actually done to write Sting off of TV, as well, considering he'd be entering rehab following this event to clean up his addictions that he had. And Sting wouldn't be in WCW again until early '99. Back to his crow gimmick. Also mad, right? So yeah, this was the last hurrah for tomato-faced Wolfpack Sting. Right?
Yes.
So we go to the next match, the semi-main on the card, which is, oh my god, no, why?
Because you know you love it.
The next match that we're about to talk about is considered by many as the absolute worst match in WCW history. And if you know, you know. And obviously you know I'm talking about the freaking WrestleMania 6 rematch between Hollywood Hogan and the Warrior. Can we just freaking skip this match and say we talked about it and move on?
No.
And of course, these two have been feuding for the better part of a couple months at this point. And the most infamous moment was when freaking Hogan on Nitro in the backstage was seeing Sting's freaking reflection in the mirror, but Sting wasn't even around him. But yeah, Hogan could see him, us fans could see him, everyone in attendance could see him, but Eric Bischoff couldn't see him, and they tried to use this to paint us Hogan as crazy, but was Eric Bischoff being the one crazy? You know what I'm saying? You know, that infamous moment that's now been a meme.
Yes.
That was part of the storyline. The rest of it, just, I didn't care much for this storyline. This match was shit. Right. And after both men made their entrances, both went face to face in the middle of the ring, and it started with Hogan being taken down with a punch to the head, and that was it. And then they locked up, and then Hogan started working on Warrior's arm here. Wow. But that was short-lived. Freaking Warrior came back, slammed Hogan down on the mat, and then Hogan slides to get out of the ring to get away from Warrior. That's how this match started. Right? Yeah, and after getting back in the ring, Warrior got in, and Hogan started pounding on Warrior. Warrior got back up to his feet, but Hogan knocked him back down again. Of course, Hogan then performed a scoop slam on the Warrior, which Warrior no-sold like you on 2K.
Yeah.
I know I usually say one per video, but I'm like, oh, fuck it, I broke my own rule. All right. And then Warrior hit a scoop slam on a Hogan, but at one time in the match, Warrior was like, come on, do the test of strength spot, Hogan, which Hogan refused. And then Hogan was in control. And then when Hogan was in control, Warrior was down. That's when Hogan was like, let's do the test of strength right now. This visual does not look right. Right? From a certain angle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then those two exchanged weak-looking left and rights, and then the referee got wiped out. That's what this match needs, a good old ref bump, am I right? And of course, then the Giant made his way to the ring, which he ends up kicking Hogan instead of Warrior, because Warrior got out of the way. I'm like, not a good night for the Giant here on this show, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, then Vincent and Stevie Ray got in, and they both got taken out by Warrior, but Warrior tried to wake up the referee. Warrior got nailed from behind, and then Hogan drove his knees to the back and starts working again, and then starts taking control of Warrior up against the ropes. And then Hogan took his weight belt off and started whipping Warrior with it. God damn, I'm losing brain cells, but eventually that ends with Warrior grabbing the weightlifting belt himself when he took it off of Hogan, and he started beating Hogan with it. And I think one of those whips caught Hogan right in the head, or either that or he got hit with the buckle of it because he started bleeding. I don't know exactly how he got busted open, but it was probably from his weight belt.
Yeah.
You could really notice blood splatter being poured down the ring in the corner of the ring when Hogan took out flash paper and a lighter to use against the Warrior here, only for the flash paper to light up in Hogan's face before he can even throw it at Warrior. And that's the spot everyone remembers from this match. Hogan nearly burned his mustache off. Right?
They didn't nearly burn. They didn't even fucking do shit.
I'm like, it looked terrible. The spot looked terrible. It was fucked up. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then Warrior ended up nailing a flying clothesline on a Hogan. But then Hogan got back in control with a low blow right in front of the referee. So Hogan was a dick to the Ultimate Warriors. I don't even care at this point, right? And then he nailed Warrior with a leg drop. Then Horace Hogan made his way out to the ring. Warrior starts to make a comeback and takes Hogan down with some clotheslines. Eric Bischoff then grabbed the referee, distracting him as well. And even if the referee saw this, who the hell would really care, right? This match is already shit. Horace came in the ring, nails Warrior in the back with a chair, which allows Hogan to pin the Warrior and win the match. This match was horrendous.
And then they wanted to set him on fire.
Yeah, after the match they wanted to set him on fire, but the referees and other officials stopped that before it could actually happen.
Yep.
Thank God. Right? So, buddy, your thoughts on this, what many people consider the worst match in WCW history.
It was okay, I guess.
Yeah, no, it was garbage. Even the Ultimate Warrior went on record saying that in his career he had the best match of his life against Hulk Hogan and the worst match of his life against Hulk Hogan. So I'm like, that should tell you all you need to know about how Warrior felt about this. Right? So yeah, that match sucked. I ain't even gonna. This match sucked, and yeah, fuck that. I don't want to watch this again. So now we go on to the main event, which saw WCW champion Goldberg defend against Diamond Dallas Page. And before the match could even take place, we had ring announcer Michael Buffer freaking hyping up the crowd for the main event. And then he said his famous catchphrase, "Let's get ready to rumble." And right after he said that, that's when millions, thousands of people on pay-per-view, their feed got cut. And they didn't get to see the match until the next night on Nitro. For those of you wondering what we were referencing throughout this whole show.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gave your theories to the poor mismanagement. I think it's freaking them not telling the pay-per-view providers how long they were going to go. At least that's what I freaking read and heard about stories about that little incident. But anyway, both men, Diamond Dallas Page made his freaking entrance first to a big ovation, including freaking being in the crowd, kind of like what Jey Uso does today, right? So yeah, once DDP gets into the ring, we see the long entrance from Goldberg, and yeah, this is the Halloween Havoc '98 entrance of Goldberg is what many consider as one of Goldberg's best freaking ring entrances, and it's been memed to death. Right?
Yeah.
As we know. Right? So yeah, after both men got in the ring, it's like they lock up, exchange arm drags before Goldberg freaking grabs a hold of Page, and both men fall out to the floor. And at this point, this one was going to be good here. Two faces, and the crowd was split, right?
Yeah.
It's like, at one point, Goldberg freaking picked Page up and slammed him down, followed by another armbar and a jawbreaker. Then Page recovers, goes for the diamond cutter, but Goldberg shoves him away, and then he goes out to the floor to regroup on this one, right?
Yep.
Because if one thing we know about DB, he ain't going out like no freaking jobber at this point. He's actually going to bring the fight to Goldberg, and Goldberg knows it, right? At one point, Page threw Goldberg into the corner and hit a Russian leg sweep for a near fall, but then Goldberg made his way back to his feet and he nailed another slam onto Page, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then Goldberg got some shots to the head. Got in some shots to the head and knocks him into the corner. And then freaking Diamond Dallas Page tried to come up, but he caught him and suplexed him, and then suplexed Page. Yep. And at one point, freaking Goldberg got freaking Page into an arm breaker, but Page got to the ropes, thus breaking the hold. It's like Goldberg tried to send him into the ropes again, but Page came back and the head scissors took Goldberg down. Of course, Goldberg went back up, charged in the corner, but Page moved out of the way, forcing Goldberg to eat nothing but ring posts. Where have we seen that before? Many times in Goldberg matches, am I right?
Yep.
A little later on, near the end, Page kicked Goldberg in the back and then nailed a DDT. And of course, freaking at this point, Goldberg came back and absolutely demolished Page with a spear out of nowhere. Still favoring that injured shoulder they rammed into the ring post, right?
Yeah.
And then the mighty Goldberg near the end. Tried to go for a jackhammer, but freaking couldn't lift Paige up the first time. Tries lifting Paige up again, but Paige reversed into a diamond cutter, which is Paige's finishing maneuver. At this point, everyone thought the streak was over. That Paige has done it, right? Only for Paige to take a good long minute before trying to cover Goldberg, who kicked out at 2. Right?
Yep.
And then the end of the match came when Paige went for a suplex, but Goldberg reversed it into the jackhammer slam and got the pinfall win to retain the WCW Championship. And pretty much that's how freaking... And Goldberg then picked up freaking Paige after the match, and those two celebrate, show the ring together and celebrate, and that's how Halloween Havoc went off the air officially. Your thoughts on this main event?
It was a good main event.
It was the only good match on this card. And it just happened to be the one match on this card that, in real time, most people didn't even get to see on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me it was the best match of the card, and to me probably one of Goldberg's best matches of his career. So now we go to what I call is our favorite part of the review, and that's our rating system. Chris Jericho defeating Raven to retain the television championship. I gave that one 3.5 out of 5.
3.
Wrath defeating Ming. I gave that one 1 3/4 out of 5.
2.5.
You enjoyed it more than I did. Your boy Disco Inferno defeating Juventud. I gave that one 3 out of 5.
1.
Alex Wright defeating Finlay. I gave that one 2 3/4 out of 5.
4.
You thought that was the best match so far?
It was a good match. It was a rivalry from his dad's era to now.
Saturn defeating Lodi. I only gave that one half out of 5.
I didn't even give it that. I gave it a 0.
Well, I gave it more than you did. Right. Billy Kidman defeating your boy Disco Inferno to retain the Cruiserweight Championship. I gave that one 3 3/4 out of 5.
3. The reason why I gave the 0 is because it wasn't even a fucking match. It was just a beatdown.
Yep. Rick Steiner defeating Scott Steiner and the Giant to win the WCW Tag Team Championships in that glorified handicap match. I gave that one 2.5 out of 5.
4.
Damn. And of course, Rick Steiner defeating Scott Steiner in that no DQ match. I gave that one 3 out of 5.
4.
You enjoyed it more than I did. Scott Hall defeating Kevin Nash by countout. I gave that one 3 out of 5.
2.5.
Fair.
Well, 3, just a 3.
Yeah, fair. Bret Hart defeating Sting to retain the United States Championship. I only gave that one 2 3/4 out of 5. It could
1.5.
It could have been so much better than it was.
Yep.
Hollywood Hogan defeating the Warrior. Ain't no freaking ain't no prize for guessing what I gave that one. I gave it 0 out of 5.
You gave it a 5 out of 5.
I gave it 0 out of 5. What is your score?
5 out of 5.
Did you just say you gave it 5 out of 5?
You gave it 5 out of 5.
I gave it 0 out of 5. What is your real score?
3.
That's giving it way too much credit than it deserves. To me, that match sucked and it straight up got 0. If you want to see a good Hogan Warrior match, watch WrestleMania 6. And of course, in the main event, Goldberg defeating Diamond Dallas Page to retain the WCW Championship. I gave that one 5 out of 5.
5.5.
Okay. So my final grade for WCW Halloween Havoc 1998 is a D. Only because of the strong main event that it had. Other than that, you don't really need to see anything.
Yeah, I guess.
So obviously, to me, the match of the night was the main event with Goldberg and Diamond Dallas Page. If you're just going to watch one match, just have it be that one. Trust me, you do not want to watch any other matches.
Yes, you do. Don't let him fool you. He wants you to watch the Hoovy versus Disco Douchebag and Disco Douchebag versus Brian Kidman or Billy Kidman.
Who the hell is Brian Kidman?
His twin brother.
Is that some wrestler that only you know about that no one else knows about?
Yes.
Jesus. So yeah, that's our thoughts on Halloween Havoc 1998.
Yeah.
I already fucking know you can't scare me, but for those listening, why don't you just drop your bombshell right now? What are we going to be reviewing next week?
Yeah, we watched this one, but we're going to be reviewing one that is the worst.
Oh, boy.
Halloween Havoc ever.
I can hardly wait.
We are going to be reviewing Halloween Havoc 2000.
I swear to God, do you want me to not have any brain cells left by the time Halloween hits this year? I swear to God, you're on your way of doing that.
And it's one of his favorite matches. We're going to be reviewing David Flair versus Buff Bagwell.
Yeah, no. David Flair can't wrestle for shit.
First blood DNA test match.
First of all, that whole storyline was based on Stacy Keibler's freaking storyline pregnancy at the time. That's not how pregnancy shit works. And secondly, say that as a whole sucked ass. And why do we have to review a David Flair match? His sister Charlotte these days wrestles 100 times better than he does. He was a shitty wrestler. Like what? And how come we're living in a timeline now where David Flair makes his goddamn wrestling review debut before Glacier does? This is bullshit, and you know it. Ugh. Now, let's see here. Now, let's see here some of the other matches we get to freaking look forward to next week. Oh, we have freaking Reno versus Sergeant AWOL for the WCW Hardcore title. Oh, yeah, we have the Filthy Animals taking on Shane Douglas and Tori Wilson in an intergender tag team match.
We also have the Disco Knights versus the Filthy Animals, Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio versus the Natural Born Thrillers, fucking Mark Jindrak and
Sean O'Hare.
Sean O'Hare.
Yes, and also next week we get to look forward to a handicap match for the U.S. Championship when it was Lance Storm and Jim Duggan taking on General Huge Erection. God, I hate that era of WCW. Oh yeah, and we also get to see freaking Booker T taking on Scott Steiner for the WCW Championship.
We also get to see Chronic, Brian Adams, and Brian Clark versus Goldberg.
In a handicap elimination match where if Goldberg loses, he would have been forced to leave WCW. Yay, what a treat for us next week.
We're also going to see Cat the Ernest Miller versus
Mike Sanders.
Mike Sanders for the commissionership of WCW. Also,
In a kickboxing match, great!
Mike Awesome versus Vampiro.
I hate you so much. I swear to God, I'm not going to have any brain cells left by the end of next week's review, I swear.
Where whoever won that match would get the opportunity to face Booker T or Scott Steiner, whoever won the World Heavyweight title.
If there's any event worse than Halloween Havoc 98, it has to be 2000.
2000 is the most hated.
2000,
Halloween
man. You
Havoc.
could have named any WCW pay-per-view from 2000, and more than likely it would be shit.
Yeah.
So enjoy our suffering. So until then, we will talk to y'all later. Peace.
He made me suffer watching this. He will suffer.
Yeah, we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
Deuces.